What's going on, SML? We're back with another episode of SML Countdown. I've got Straw, I've got AJ. It's 10 o'clock. It's a little later than we usually record, but as you can tell, I'm a little excited. Just beat AJ pretty good, actually. AJ, how you feeling?
I don't know what you're talking about. That game's behind me.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're able to sit down. But
Oh.
let's go ahead. We'll jump into the first topic since it's late and I'm not a night owl like you guys. So first topic, we've talked about and plenty of people have talked in DMs about this, but guys that take forever to run the clock, and you know who they are: Biz, KJ, Gilbert a little bit. Whether it's to pick plays, make adjustments, should we crack down on that, or is it because they don't win a lot, we just let things go? AJ, we'll start with you.
Um, I think it's okay in moderation, just like with anything else. We've all taken time on crucial plays to take time to pick what play you want to choose, or say you audible out of something, and the play clock runs down to 5 seconds or something. We've all been there, but if it happens routinely, I feel like it's malicious intent, to be honest. Because same the same guys that kind of run the play clock down don't typically do that when they're losing.
Yeah.
It's usually when they're winning. It's all of a sudden when they're losing, they don't, they know what plays they want to run. So I don't know. I just, we're playing Madden. It's not rocket science. Everybody's just kind of picking plays that they like. You know what I mean? So, and if you come up the line and you make three hot routes, you're not really running. To me, that's kind of the opposite of sim play. You're picking a stock play and you're just ripping it apart and doing your own thing. So, just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially with play limits. I mean, you could basically recreate the play that you ran out of with your hot routes. Straw, what do you think?
Yeah, I similarly, not I've watched, Prime play and he'll sit there and be like, "Oh, I have an idea." And then next thing you know, he's going and he's picking the play. And then sometimes I'm watching KJ and I think like he's actually genuinely like, which play should I pick? Let me see." And he's like scrolling through it. I mean, I think it'd be tough to try to regulate it. I'd be curious to see what that looks like because, it's already um stressful enough sometimes trying to, pick the right thing and thinking through. I think the SML does a really, really good job overall of like really trying to crack down on what you do. Like everybody tries to figure out what you do, your
Oh
tendencies.
yeah.
And so you're really thinking and trying to say, okay, what can I run here? What are they going to run? So I'd be as annoying as it is for the people who go super, super slow. I think it's okay, and especially if the guys who are doing it really would, and I guess it is what it is. But Biz, Biz, he
He's been to the
definitely,
playoffs. I mean, he's not
yeah, he's into the playoffs, so
not the absolute
it's a
bottom.
tough,
You
yeah,
said
it's a tough
KJ's going to win his
That's
division
true.
this year.
KJ's
So
gonna win his division.
what.
So
Right, yeah, actually, I've been in on KJ, so maybe finally he's gonna
Straw
prove
predicted
me
this
right.
3 seasons ago.
so do you guys think maybe the rule needs to be amended, or we need to relook at it, because there is a rule that you can't run down the clock. So if they're doing it consistently,
Yeah, it's just you get in the
Yeah,
weeds with play styles.
yeah,
It's gray area like with a lot of some of our rules. And I'm okay with certain play styles like that. Some guys like to have 12 play drives and milk the clock for 4 minutes.
now the problem is when you
But
do 4 minutes and you only ran 3 plays, though.
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
You can accomplish the same thing by not running the play clock down to 10
Yeah.
seconds every time. So
All right,
yeah.
so let's move on to topic 2, and we'll call this the pretenders and contenders. We'll start with you, Straw. I've got, what do we got? 6 guys that we listed. Doink's 8-0, Filthy's 5-3, Gutta's 5-3, Torque's 5-3, Biz is 4-5, and Tiny's now 6-4. Just beat Matt. Out of these
Pretty
guys,
bad.
which ones do you think are the pretenders and which ones are the contenders?
Yeah, it's tough. So I'm gonna go with I've played a couple of guys on here and some I haven't this season. And it looks like it's gonna change season to season. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go based off of what's happening this season. Doink, I'm gonna give him the real deal so far. From what I've seen and from what he's doing with all those devs that he has on his team and the
Yeah.
way he's using them. I think he's the real deal. I think he's a contender. Filthy playing him. He looks filthy. You know, he's making great reads. He is a really really great player all around. So I think he's a contender. Gutta, I actually haven't had a chance to play him, so just because of that, and sort of looking, I'm just gonna label him as a pretender because I'm not gonna call everyone a contender. So only for that reason. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Um, Torque. I'm also gonna label Torque as a pretender. I want to see. I want to see a little bit more. Gonna keep watching him and seeing, but I want to see a little more out of him and out of his game.
Well, I got his first round pick, so I'm good with that pick.
Biz, he's in my division. Always plays tough. You know, I think he really knows what he's doing. And knows how to control the game and control the time and stuff. And now our division is really looking weak right now. So I'm gonna say he's a contender. He's gonna win that division. And Tiny, man, Tiny just whooped on Matt. Something crucial. How can I call him a pretender after that? So I gotta give him contender.
All right. What about you, AJ?
I'm gonna go 3-3 here just to make it even. I'm gonna do. I think Doink's a contender. I agree with Straw. Straw's done his homework on Doink too with the set feet lead, so we'll see what we got going there.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Filthy. Yeah, spoiler alert. Filthy, having played him a few times in Primer and seeing what he's doing, I believe he's definitely a contender. I need to see some more from Gutta. It's still early in the season. Same with Torque. I've had experience playing both of those guys a few times. So I'd put both of them in pretender for now. And then that leaves Tiny and Biz. And I'm gonna give the edge on Tiny on this one. I'm gonna call him a contender this year. I think he's got a good team. He's got inside stuff. He's not turning the ball over. He's got some pretty good wins this season, which you can't deny. And so I'm gonna give him contender and Biz pretender.
Yeah, I think Tiny, after that win against Matt, that was a big win. Now, Matt's having a down year, but he won pretty convincingly. So Tiny looking a lot better. The other ones, I'd have to agree pretty much with what you guys said. Doink, I know he's 8-0, but the last time I played him, it was 56-0. So it might have been 59-0.
Fair enough.
So it's tough for me to say he's a contender. He hasn't played anybody with a winning record yet. He's got, I think, a second or third place schedule, so he avoided most of the division winners. But he has been in the playoffs fairly consistently. He didn't make it last season, but he's been fairly consistent. So I'll say he's a contender. I got to see him beat some of the he hasn't played D-Muse yet. He's got to play him twice, so that'll be a good kind of litmus test of where he's at, which is what I said about Filthy when he was 5-0 and he had 2 games against QP and 1 against the Chiefs coming up, and he went 0-3 in those games. Lost to QP by 2 scores, lost to Wine Killer, who was the Chiefs, and then he lost to QP again. So I kind of feel like Filthy might be a pretender. That the Broncos team, not great, and every time he's gone up against a good team, he's had issues. So it might have been just kind of favorable schedule. We'll see how he closes it out. Gutta starts hot a lot and then kind of fizzles out. I think that's what we're going to see again. Torque is 5-3, but he's got a tough part of his schedule coming up. So I think he's going to kind of fade back. That might be a little bit of wishful thinking there. Biz, I think he's going to kind of fall back too. And then Tiny, I think Tiny might win the division. After seeing what he did to Matt has a really good defense. Regardless of what Matt says about he can't stop anything, well, then nobody can stop it. And out of not stopping it, he's the best at getting close because he's got a top 10 defense. Maybe not after what Tiny just did to him, though. So I think Tiny might be for real as well. So I'm going to go Doink and Tiny really is the only 2 contenders. Filthy probably better than Tiny, but I think he gets hyped up a little more than maybe he should, at least at this point. But Filthy definitely going to be a contender once he gets the team built up. All right, so speaking of the teams and Filthy having to do some work on his team, when we started this cycle, I was, Dump took the best team in the game, and there's a lot of talk about rosters. And we'll start with you, AJ, but how long do the good teams at the beginning of the cycle, how long do they have a roster advantage? I mean, everybody's had almost 4 full seasons to build their team. At what point does the roster advantage kind of go away?
Well, I think the roster as a whole advantage probably right about now is where things kind of start to even out a little bit. You know, thinking off the cuff, like the Eagles have some older players that are going to either retire or you're going to have to stop. You're going to have to let them go to free agent, or they're just regressing. Teams like that. With that said, teams with good quarterbacks still maintain their advantage because unless you get an X factor out of the box in the draft with all the best abilities, which is not going to happen. Honestly, you're
No,
not
it's
going to get.
impossible with the way EA set it
Yeah,
up.
exactly. You're not
Isn't that
going to get
right,
those
Straw?
stock
You'll be
abilities.
your X Factor quarterback.
So those guys will maintain that advantage at least on the offensive side of the ball. But I think as a roster as a whole, if you're building it correctly and you're making some good draft picks, you ought to be closing in on some of these top teams. And then really next year, I think you'll really see after one more draft, these teams start to come together.
All right, Straw, what do you think? You've got a team that definitely wasn't one of the top teams. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think this Madden is definitely different and from my experience than other Maddens. One of the examples I remember in a different league, I'm not in that league anymore, but I had the Vikings to start off. And I was actually talking to AJ about this really early on where I was like, dude, it feels like something is wrong with the Vikings. Like they're supposed to be better than this. And Kirk Cousins is playing like real life Kirk Cousins. Like I don't understand what's happening and why I can't make certain throws that I'm making with a nobody quarterback that in Bennett that I was using with the Rams. I'm like, what is going on? And so I it seems to me, I'd be curious what other people's thoughts on this, but like even in drafting Pete, who I got to X Factor, or I've got this corner who I thought was going to be a great corner, and it seems like sometimes some players, while they have the attributes that say they should play a certain way, they just aren't playing to that level. It's like they're not actually and I think you see that real in the NFL in real life, like people you think are supposed to be better and it's just like something's not clicking for them. That's kind of the feeling I have with this Madden. And so it seems like some of the players that came in, Aaron Donald or Joe Burrow, or they that are already in the game, it seems like they're as dominant as they're supposed to be. But sometimes it seems like trying to dev some of these players up, they just don't play how you think they should play. And I don't know if it's some of the other traits that they have, the paranoids, we've talked about that and all that kind of stuff that adds into some of that stuff. But with that in mind, it's interesting. I'm not sure how some people feel with some of the players they've drafted and some of the players they're trying to dev up compared to other players. But it seems like the players that were already in the game, with the better rosters, seem to play better than, players that you're trying to dev.
Yeah, I could see that. And I would actually argue that they don't ever lose that roster advantage. If they're a good team builder, they don't lose that roster advantage because those stacked teams have assets. If you take, the Texans or the Rams, what assets did you have? You had nothing you could move. I mean, so your building is going to come from the draft, which everything is slow trying to develop those. You don't have anything you can trade to move for more pieces. Meanwhile, if you're the Eagles, the Bengals, one of those teams, you're just loaded. You're just throwing away guys so that you can even re-roll some of your superstars you get later. So if you're a good team builder, I don't think that roster advantage ever disappears because you had more to build with. And like AJ talked about, getting the abilities, you got a guy like, we'll start with Burrow. He's got all the good abilities. You're not going to get all the good abilities on, for example, your quarterback, Pete. It's impossible.
Right.
If he gets the X factor before he hits 90, that's 4 abilities gone, just wasted because they're going to be garbage.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't think you ever really get caught up unless, somebody's not really that good at building the team and they make some mistakes along the way, and then maybe you can catch up. But
yeah, that makes
talking about rosters then, what do you think, or what are your thoughts on the best players taking the best teams, Straw?
this is a lose-lose. It's a lose-lose. If you're the best player, if you're one of the best players and you take a bad team, you are gonna get like crapped on if you're not doing good. You're expected to still perform and you're gonna get no breaks for taking a bad team. And if you're the best player, you take the best team, you cannot, well, everybody one is gonna say, well, you have the best team. And so you don't really get much credit for what you're doing. But also if you do bad with the best team, then you're yeah, you're really fucked. So it's a lose lose. I think I'm always for go with what's gonna be the most fun.
Mhm.
Like if for me, I would have picked the Eagles because I'm an Eagles fan, and that happened to be the best team. But if the Eagles turn around and suck and no one wants to pick them, I'm gonna be so excited to pick the Eagles, whether I was picking first or picking last. So, um, I think go with what's gonna be fun. I like kind of your approach, Bomber, and how going into this cycle and how you picked. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I completely agree with the pick and fun. Now I get QP took the Chargers, their favorite team. If you got the chance to take the Eagles, it makes sense you would take them. But outside of that, I mean, you don't see Prime taking the top team every year. Now he takes his favorite team too, so maybe at some point, I don't know, 50 years from now, the Colts will actually be good, and then he'll have taken a good team. But I think the SML as a whole is better when you have some of the better teams fall to some of the guys that are more middle of the pack. What do you think, AJ?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Bomber. Not that if you're a better player, you can't take a good team. I think everybody's strategically taking a good team, whether they think they're good now or they'll be good in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Like for instance, the Bears this season had some good assets, and I know Bomber knew that as a team builder. He could really, put a really good team together here in 2 3 seasons. Um, or like the Lions, a team like that. They're young. They're gonna dev real quick. You're gonna have a stacked team by year 3. It's not like some of these teams come out the box and they're loaded, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, Woods has won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, and he's can barely win a game now. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen. But um, that's my thoughts. A lot of these teams that may not be loaded on the front end, they have assets to make moves, to get more draft picks, to really build through the draft, and then you can even trade for some of these loaded players on some of these teams that are cap strapped on the first season, like the Browns and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if it's your favorite team, it's your favorite team. I get that. If the Saints are really good, I'd probably take the Saints. Um, so be it. But I kind of agree with Bomber. I think as far as the competitiveness of the league, which I really
Yeah.
think Madden's in a good spot right now with the parity because I mean everybody's all over the place this Madden.
Oh yeah.
We got guys that made the
Yeah.
playoffs and then the next season they're winning 4 games. Like it's pretty wild. So I think, we've had 3 different Super Bowl winners. Um,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, so I mean, say what you want about this Madden, but it has created more parity. Um, and I kind of got off topic there, but that's my 2 cents on the best players taking the best teams.
Yeah, I mean, we've had not only 3 different Super Bowl winners. I don't think anybody's been to the Super Bowl twice yet, have they?
No,
You
I don't
had
think so.
Prime Dan and QP on one side, and then Meets Woods and I'm blanking on the who Prime beat. That's right,
Straw.
it was you. So uh,
Yep.
6 different
Ouch.
Super Bowl teams, not just
Eons ago,
winners.
wasn't it? So
Yeah, you don't see that very often in the SML. All right, so that's gonna move us to the top plays section of the show. And AJ, let's start with your top play.
So we got Gilbert running the speed option here, and Dump either knew the play was coming or was just right place, right time. But he had the heads up play there to hit triangle and pick it off. If you've ever needed a reason not to run an option play, watch this clip right here because either that's picked off or the ball's like dirted. I mean, there's nothing really that ever's good that happens from those speed option plays. But I thought that was a really good play, really heads up play by
I
Dump.
mean, he wasn't even. It wasn't even like he shot in there to pick it off. He was already there, and Gilbert pitched it right to him. I mean, he had to turn around to catch
And
it.
poor Gilbert, I mean, honestly, I might have pitched that too because you're like, well, crap, this guy's coming straight at me.
Yeah.
But he
Oh,
right in the line of the pitch there.
All right, Straw, how about your play?
Yeah, so what we got here, very, very similar situation, except it turned out for the better. And I couldn't believe it when I watched it. I said, there's no way that this went from being on the ground to in the end zone for the offense. There's absolutely no way. I mean, just phenomenal. I couldn't believe it. I think I watched it like 5 different times, just still waiting for it to get picked up by the defense and take it to the house. This is another reason not to run the speed option, because it's going to get thrown into the dirt. But I guess if you got a running back like this, he'll pick it up and take it to the house.
Yeah, see, I thought you were going to say it's another reason to have a second controller, because that might have cost me one right there. All right, and so my top play is going to be, actually, this is from Dan and Paulie. And Paulie just on the bad end of 2 of these plays. And TJ Watt comes in. He just takes the ball. Rather than get the sack, he just grabs the ball from him and takes off. Luckily for Paulie, he's able to bring him down, but it was 35-7 at that point. It didn't really matter. It just kind of rubbing his face in it there. He's just, I've seen the animation like twice, and I love it as long as it's not against me. All right, so that's the top plays. Make sure you guys go on YouTube and comment after this, and we'll see who wins the top play. I think our last one was the Finns play. Pretty much a landslide. Finns on the pitch to beat Doink, so maybe this one will be a little bit closer, although I think the one that you did, Straw, I think that might be the heavy favorite right now. But let's move on to the last section, and this is going to be the last straw. What do you have this week?
Yeah, so what we got this week, there's a lot of talk about set feet lead. So we wanted to dive into that and really get to talk about it. So for those of you guys who don't know, set feet lead, passers with this ability have increased throw power on bullet precision passes made while their feet are set, except on high or low throws. And so we wanted to take a look at Doink, who we know Ritter has set feet lead. And let's talk a little bit about some of these passes and what set feet lead can do. So let's go to the first one. And we can check out and look at Ritter throwing these passes. And so with set feet lead, like we said, it increases the velocity of the pass. And so when you look at this first play and you look at how Ritter was able to fit in this throw, I think, most quarterbacks, they throw this and that underneath guy picks it off, or it sails and the safety will pick it off. But he was able to fit it in right there to Kyle Pitts. It's a heads-up play by Doink, and set feet lead probably has a lot to do with being able to make that pass. And he knows it, and he's doing great with it. And so that takes us to play number 2. I think the best way, from what I've seen from set feet lead, are these outside breaking routes and not being able to let the defenders get there, whether underneath or on top, trying to break down on it. And so here goes another play where he's throwing to Kyle Pitts, pretty much bracketed underneath and over the top defender, and he's able to fit the ball right in there to, again, Kyle Pitts, one of his favorite targets. And that's what you could do with set feet lead. I think you throw that as another quarterback, and that's probably getting picked off. And so now let's go to play number 3. This is probably one of the best examples. Whenever you're doing like these outbreaking routes, these out routes, you will so often see, I have nightmares of this, the defenders breaking on it and it literally going for a pick 6. The way the defender broke on it, I think without set feet lead, this play turns into an interception. Now, obviously, illegal contact, but this is one of the best examples of what set feet lead can do, is really be able to fit in those outside breaking routes. And so now if we go to the next play, this one was really, really interesting. When you look at it and you look at how he was able to fit it in, I don't know. You guys make the call. Set feet lead, a little bit of luck. Drake London being a phenomenal physical catch specimen, but I think he can fit this ball in there because of set feet lead. And so, might be getting a lot of benefit from that. But 75 yards later, Drake London is in the end zone for a touchdown. And finally, the last play, the piece de resistance. This throw is so crazy. I cannot believe that he was able to not only fit it over 2 defenders, but then Kyle Pitts was able to get his feet in bounds. And then a heads-up play by Doink to go and make the challenge and get a successful challenge for it to be 1st and goal. Just immaculate. I don't know if this was set feed lead or not, but that was an absolutely crazy throw, crazy catch, phenomenal. So whether set feed lead plays a big part on Doink or not, he's tearing through the SML right now. He has an 8-0 record. So we got to do better, or we got to go dev some guys to get some set feed lead, because Doink is 8-0, and I'd like to be 8-0, but I'm very, very far away from that. So, and just for shits and giggles, I wanted to show this last play because this looks really familiar, kind of like we saw it already. Hassan Reddick coming in with the strip sack, actually on Dan, who had the one with TJ Watt.
You're right.
So I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, he gets the same thing. So, like I said, I like seeing that one as long as it's not me.
Yeah, I don't want to see that in any of my games anytime soon because I don't have a player who can do that. So if I see it, it's going to be against me.
Yep.
Yeah, just give me a good old-fashioned fumble, and I won't lose my mind, right?
Yeah, that'll work. I think I've had plenty of those. All right, guys. Well, this has been SML Countdown, and it's 10:30. We're right on time. So, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being on, and we'll see you guys next time.